Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mangsaw, and it is time to begin another tournament arc. The Advanced Wars A Mariner Cup has just kicked off, and it is a Fog of War tournament. And Fog of War is a mode that I've been enjoying a lot as of late. I plan to host the next Grandmaster tournament with Deegis as a Fog tournament. And I've been spectating a lot of Fog matches. You know, I've been watching Rip play, which is very exciting. And this tournament is interesting because almost everyone picked Lash for the first turn. This is because for some weird reason, Lash is tier 4 on this map. Even though she's normally tier 3, they just let her be tier 4 on this map. And as a result, like I think almost 50% of all players picked Lash for this tournament, which is pretty interesting. I've heard some rumors. I'm not sure if they're just like rumors and speculation, but I've heard that there is some plans of maybe allowing Lash more into tier 4 because she's not being picked a lot in tier 3 for obvious reasons. And on some maps where there's not a lot of terrain, she really isn't that strong, and it could maybe be justifiable to put her into tier 4. So in today's match, we're going to take a look at the first round. I entered the tournament, and we're going to see a bit of a funny matchup that we don't normally see. We get to see Lash versus Jess. Again, we normally don't get to see it because Lash is one tier higher than Jess, but in this tournament, she's not. So a bit of an interesting matchup. You know, of course, I'm going to pick Jess because you guys know I'm a Jess fanboy, especially in Fog games. So yeah. Now, my opponent in this first round is someone who you may recognize if you watch my channel for a while. It is the one and only Stespella. Stespella? I don't know how to pronounce his name, but you may remember this guy from one of the earlier videos I did on my channel. You guys remember this video right here called Sonya Main Trash Talks Me on Discord? Basically, this guy said that I was bad or something, and I challenged him to a match as a result of it. But the fun fact is, he was actually 100% right. Because basically what he said at the time was, Mangs, you're not as good as you think you are. Like, there's a lot of people on the site who are better than you. And I was like, no, I'm good. I played the cartridge for 15 years. I'm a Grandmaster. And that was like before I actually started to encounter some of the monsters on the site. And then I started playing competitively, and I realized just how little I know about Advanced Wars and how bad I really am. So, Stespella, if you're watching this, you're actually 100% right about me. I was not aware of how bad I was back then. I thought I was really good. And then, you know, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect, you know, in full display. Plenty of people come into Advanced Wars by web, and they're like, ooh, I played my brother as Kumbai versus Andy, and I beat him every time. I'm so good at this game. And then they, like, face a 1100 MMR player, and they get completely stomped into the ground, you know. The skill gap in Advanced Wars is pretty massive, and most people don't realize just how complicated this game is. Anyway, we're going to take a look at this first match right here from the Fog tournament. As I said, lots of Lash players in this. And the map is really weird. It's called something El Dorado. I forgot. It's made by Reimer, aka Nightmare of Hainkyo. I think he was following the match. He was spectating the match as I was playing it. And I was like, why is he so interested in watching my game? And then I realized, oh, he made the map. That's he's curious. So yeah, he made this map. I tried to turn it back to like the classic Advanced Wars graphics, but I wasn't able to do it. It's not that I don't like these graphics per se. I just find them a little distracting. Like this is like an alternate tile set. You have like these weird looking mountains. You have these bushes instead of the woods. Like, again, I don't mind the graphics, but I would like the alternative to swap it back to the classic mode. And for some reason, I can't do that, so we're kind of stuck with it. But it's an interesting map. It really reminds me a lot of Stalingrad. And like I think one of the Grandmasters in the Discord server described it as like the foggiest Fog map that ever fogged. And this is a very like typical Fog map on the ladder. It's a good map, but I've seen plenty of it before. It's one of those Fog maps with very complicated reinforcement zones. And by that, I mean, you have to move your units through a lot of weird stuff to get them to the front lines. Like, infantry can cross this river right here, and you can reinforce one vehicle on each side. I guess the reason for the river cutoff is to prevent you from funneling 3 vehicles to one side. You know, on this side, you can make 2 vehicles. On this side, you can make 1 vehicle. So it's a weak side, strong side map. Weak side, strong side, weak side, strong side. But unlike a lot of other weak side, strong side maps like Stalingrad, you can't funnel all of your vehicles over on one side. You have to split them up a little bit. There's also an airport right here behind the pipe seam that's a little bit hard to get to. A harbor here for some reason. I kind of would have liked it if there was like a pre-deployed black boat, because that would have actually given this harbor a purpose. I was actually, spoiler alert, I did not build a black boat, but I kind of wanted to, considering I've watched so many of Rip's game lately, and he loves going transports. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just gonna jump into the map. You know, gonna commentate it, give my thoughts as we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's begin. Let's turn on the sounds. Make sure they're a little bit louder. Alright, so got this nice little layout. I don't know if I did it yet, but I would really like to thank Trunith for making all these amazing plugins. This is the reason why the screen looks so nice. We have like the day counters here and stuff like that, which is so nice. You got the coordinates, you got the bigger CO power bars. You gotta love Trunith, man. He's an absolute champ. So we start off with 2 bases here on each side, and we have to capture the 3rd neutral base. The capture, again, this map just really reminds me a lot of Stalingrad. It has a pretty long capture phase, and you also have this like lab in the center here, surrounded by river, which is exactly like Stalingrad. This is actually a pretty good place to put your tanks, because it's very hard to attack into it, since all the terrain is 0 defense stars. So Stilspella opens up a recon here. Most Lash players tend to do this, because the recon, it's pretty easy for them to get like one-shots. Or to do significant damage, putting the recons on these missile silos and stuff like that. And also keep in mind, once Lash pops her power, the recon becomes insanely mobile, which is really nice. So I go for my airport right here. I don't plan to build a lot of battlecopters in this game as Jess. This is mostly going to be a ground battle, because neither Jess nor Lash are very fond of battlecopters. I mean, there's obviously going to be some, but both COs don't really like air units all that much, so it tends to devolve into mostly a ground war when you play, which is what I like anyway, which is nice. Alright. So far, nothing much going on here. I open up a tank because I had kind of like an inkling that Stilspella would go recon. I just had a hunch. Like, he seems like a recon spammer. So, against the recon spammers, I like to open up tanks to try and catch the recon out, which is nice. So he goes a tank right here. And I'm just wondering, why am I not getting the unit buy sounds? I think I gotta put the interface volume up. No, that's weird. Usually you get a nice little cha-ching effect when you build units, but not anymore for some reason. Not really sure why. Maybe the sound data needs to be updated. Anyway, so I decided to go a battlecopter right here. Sorry, transport copter, not battlecopter. I decided to go a transport copter right here because, again, I've watched a lot of Rip's replays as of late, and I really like the way he's using transports. I figured I'd incorporate some more transports into my openers. I really think that they add a lot. You may think that, oh, just as bad infantry, so T-Copter obviously not going to do much for her, but no, actually, I would argue she actually needs the T-Copter because her capture game is so weak. Also, a nice little bonus about Jess's powers is that because they refuel the T-Copter, you don't have to send it back for fuel or build an APC to keep it in the air, which I actually think is very nice, because the T-Copter, it has 99 fuel, but it will run out pretty quickly because it moves around a lot. So being able to like constantly resupply it with Jess powers and keep it afloat is actually very nice. So Stilspella moves out with the recon right here. And I don't see the recon yet. So here he has an opportunity to attack me, but of course I do have the tank guarding the city. So that's not going to be a very good idea. He moves out with his tank, builds another recon. Again, I just had this inkling that he would build a lot of recons. Again, Lash players do like their recons. So I have to be a little bit careful here. So here, I'm going to use my T-Copter to grab some of these properties in the center here, which are normally a little bit hard to get. And because I see the recon now, I drop off the infantry on the mountain to protect it. Although I'm pretty sure he's going to... I mean, I got 2 tanks here, so I'm not overly scared of what he's going to do. In fact, I'm trying to put my tanks on the outskirts of his vision range, so to kind of lure him into attacking me so that I can kill his recon. As day 8 rolls in, Stilspella continues to move forward. He actually gets himself trapped. He was gonna put the recon in this wood right here, but I actually put the infantry. So, fun fact, I actually forgot that there was a forest here because the weird graphics, you know? I actually looked at my infantry unit and I was like, oh wow, it's actually out in the open. It's gonna get picked off. And then As I watched his turn, I'm like, what? How did they get trapped? And then I realized, oh, there's a forest here. You see, this is why I'm not a huge fan of this alternate tile set. Again, it looks nice, but I tend to, like, again, Advanced Wars is a game about, like, muscle memory and, like, memory. And so, the more you tinker with the graphics, the harder the game becomes to, like, you can't just look at it at a glance and understand it. Like, you know, like, sometimes I'll look at this and I'll just forget that it's a forest tile, because I'm so used to how forest tiles are supposed to look, if that makes sense. So, again, I don't mind that they're adding new tile sets, but I really wish they didn't force me to utilize them, because I really just... I like the Days of Ruin tile set, actually. The Days of Ruin tile set is actually not bad, because again, I'm used to it. I'm not used to this new tile set right here. But the Spella gets himself trapped. Again, I don't think this was... No, it was not because of my T-Copter. But we can pretend that it was about my T-Copter. So he builds 2 tanks and an infantry. As day 9 rolls in, I move in with my Just Tank! And boom. I was prepared to use the T-Copter to trap the recon if it didn't kill. But I was lucky with the luck, and I was able to kill it, which is very nice. And here I'm using my T-Copter, boosting my infantry across the river, giving it a little bit of bonus. And now I get myself trapped on Spella's tank. I was like, wow. I didn't realize he was here. But I feel pretty confident now. I got 2 tanks here backing each other up. Got a 3rd tank here to ward away his recon. So I'm getting an early recon pickoff of your opponent always makes me feel very confident in any fog game. It's like such a nice little bonus, you know? But I do decide to build an anti-air. D just taught me to always build anti-air on day 9 or 10. Day 9 is the safe time to build anti-air in most fog games. Day 10, a little more risky, but you can get away with it. Day 11, 12, you're moving into, like, Poland territory, you know? And I'm making, of course, a joke. Poland just never built anti-air in the previous fog tournament, which is kind of funny. So the Spella moves forward here with his recon, trying to scout a little bit, see if he can see what's going on here. A lot of people have asked me why I stopped using the replay viewer, and the reason is I like the sound effects, and I also like the new plugins that makes the UI pretty neat. And I just think it looks a little different to most other... Like, I feel like a lot of people use the Advanced Wars replay viewer now, and it makes their videos look very samey. And this one gives it a bit of a unique touch, you know? So here I decide to go for the comm tower on day 10, and I continue to use the T-Copter to transport a bunch of infantry forward. Here I get a little bit cheeky with my infantry down south here. I wasn't aware that he had, like, so much here. And I just tried to position my tanks on terrain wherever possible. I'm not yet sure where the Spella is going to attack. He builds a battlecopter on day 9, which is, again, very good, because I will now have the anti-air ready for whenever that battlecopter comes out. But so far, both players very equal in the capture game. Nothing super interesting happening just yet. This is a very slow map. Like, this map takes about 10 to 15 days to get going, like, before you actually start seeing engagements. It's a pretty big fog map with a long, complicated capture chain, or capture phase. Yeah, a little bit of Manx infantry here, probably. I mean, I had 3 tanks here, so I kind of felt confident doing this. I knew this would get interrupted, but my hope was maybe that he'd send in some tanks and that I would be able to, like, take them out. So this is a bait. Like, again, I mean, I guess I only really have 2 tanks in range. So yeah, this was... Honestly, this is not a bait. It's just a Manx infantry right here. No excuses. I do decide to move forward, though. And now I do have 3 tanks in range. I can even move this one back if I really want to. And I think no, actually move it down here. Because I don't know where he's going to strike me at. So I decided to actually go for a medium tank on day 11, which is pretty early. Teching up is something that I've started doing a lot more in fog games as of late. I've seen D just do it to great effect. Teching up early can really take your opponent off guard. If they don't have a response for it, you can score a lot of kills with a medium tank that they have no response to. So yeah, here the Spella interrupts a camp down in the south. I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get that. And he also goes for my tank over here. And he actually gets the again, this is one of the benefits of being Lash. I mean, you have a comm tower, you have a planes boosted tank that's plus 20%, which means he can 2-hit KO cities, which is, I mean, that's nice. I mean, that whenever Lash is on planes, her tanks are basically as good as my tanks, so it's a decent bonus. I mean, no one ever said Lash's day-to-day bonus was bad. It's her powers that suck. So her day-to-day powers are actually pretty good. So, yeah, I'm getting myself interrupted a lot here. So I was looking at this and I was like, oh, maybe I overextended just a little bit. As day 12 rolls in, I have to make a judgment call. Do I brawl or do I pull back? And of course, I decide to brawl because I am Jess. So I move in right here. Decide to kill the tank. I could have taken a shot at that one, but I decided to kill the tank instead. And the reason I'm feeling confident brawling here is because I have a medium tank coming in. And you can see Spell actually does not have any teched up units yet. So in 2 turns, this medium tank's going to arrive and it's going to wreak havoc on the front lines if Spell does not get a response to it. And here, I don't really know why I did this. Honestly, I should have seen these units on the replay viewer. I don't really know why I did this. I guess I wasn't paying attention. But that's a Manx infantry right there. Yeah, they're still here. They still pop up from time to time. I'm trying my best to eliminate them, but you know, it's like they just show up. And here, once again, I decide, you know what? I have the economy for it. Actually, I didn't have the economy for it. I base skipped. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just take up and see if I can get away with it. Again, I see D just do this a lot in his frog games. He like builds a Neo tank on day 10. And it can be very effective. It's a gamble, but if it pays off, it's gonna pay off big. So, day 12 rolls in right here. And now we're going to start seeing some brawls right here. Spell moving forward on both fronts. He's actually pulling back a little bit here. He's because he sees all the tanks. So he's taking a little bit of a defensive stance right here. And of course, a Lash tank on an HQ, that's scary, man. That is scary. It's like a Kindle tank. So once again, this T-Copter's getting some pretty decent mileage. I one-shot the recon, which is very nice. And now, my medium tank is in range. So now I can afford to poke a little bit here. Start to capture a little bit. And here, I decide to pull back mostly. I keep some of my infantry here for protection, but I decide that this is where I want to fight. I haven't seen a lot of attacks coming from here yet. I see that he has a lot of stuff here. So I'm thinking, at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bunch together all my tanks on this side. I'm gonna try to push towards the HQ. So let's see how that goes. Day 13. Stespella has 26k in the bank, and he's still not teched up. I think he teched up a little too late. He has built a T-Copter now. A little late. I think he should have built that at the start of the match. But here, I think this is probably one of the biggest mistakes he made during the match. He knows I have a bunch of tanks here, and yet he still decides to attack, which I thought was weird. Like, I know he sees a lot of vehicles here, so he's kind of setting himself up to be shellacked. And also, look at that, turbocharge ready right now. This is why we love Jess. This is why we love Jess. That normal power is so nice. And he does a thing that I know D just often talks about in his videos. He's attacking on 2 fronts, which is not something you typically want to do. Because if you attack on both fronts, then you spread yourself thin. You should probably focus on one of the sides of the map, and then pull back on the other. But Stespella decides to go for it. He has 2 battlecopters. And he finally builds his Neo tank on day 13, which is nice. But day 14 rolls in, guys. And I see the battlecopter. Boom, shoot it down. In comes the Neo tank. I don't feel like popping my power yet, because I can get some free charge. But I do decide to pop it right now. I attack here. In hindsight, this was a little reckless. I should have attacked from here instead. I don't think it would have mattered much in the end, but I decide to take some infantry engagements right here. And I don't... Just infantry, man. Even with a power and comb tower, you're not guaranteed to kill the infantry on city, which is which is really bad. But I take down a tank. Probably should have captured here instead of taking out the 1 HP infantry, honestly, but oh well. Also, if I had moved this infantry first, I could have killed the 2 HP infantry instead of, you know. Like, again, just another example of, like, small things you can do to improve your play. Like, instead of moving this first, I should have just moved this one first, scouted, and that would have let me take out the infantry, killing his vision in this area. So not a big deal, but, like, tiny little things like this add up over the course of a match. Just tiny little mistakes. But I'm pretty happy with this brawl right here. It went pretty well for me. Of course, Stespella does have his superpower now. And he pops it. Double terrain stars. Again, if you look at this map, terrain isn't that common, but there's still some good engagements here for Stespella to take, like this empty missile silo right here. He doesn't get any, like, crucial... He doesn't get that many crucial captures with his power, which I think is a problem for him. Like, again, imagine if he had gone for both these caps with the super up. That would have been really good. Maybe he should have sat on it for a turn. He does get 2 captures, but I will be able to interrupt these. Lash captures are not immune during her superpower. They get a lot of defense, but they are... You can whittle them down. And here I was like... I was looking at this play, and I was like, this is really weird. Why doesn't he take up my anti-air? I guess he really wanted to put this tank on a city. He should have... I don't know why he didn't take out the anti-air. He wouldn't have been able to get any good, like, terrain attacks on it, so he wouldn't have been able to kill it, but leaving this anti-air open or alive was a big mistake. But he doesn't have that many vehicles here. Most of his army's down here. So again, I think he's splitting his forces too thinly. Like, he's trying to attack on both sides, whereas most of my forces are here. I have 2 Neo-tanks right here. So this is going to start hurting badly. But yeah, I think Stespella would have gained from maybe waiting a turn to pop his power. Because imagine if he had popped his power, gone for a big push, and then captured like all of these properties with Prime Tactics up. That would have been really strong. But he was just 1 turn short. He builds a second Neo-tank, which is good. But day 15 rolls in, I get this anti-air get 2 free battlecopters. So nice. I have a medium tank coming down on my weak side. At this point, I was actually terrified of an HQ cap. Just, if you look at this, his infantry are so close to my HQ. And I have practically no units here. He can surround it very easily if he wants to. So I was like, you keep in mind, I didn't have a vision here. So I was like, man, if he just surrounds my HQ and goes for the HQ cap with the superpower up, I'm dead. So I think it was this turn where I started, and again, this is another reason why Lash is kind of bad. Like, again, you look at this, right? And you think, oh, that tank is invincible because it has like 80% extra defense, but no, not really. As you can see, it's quite easy to take it out, actually. You gotta invest a little bit more, but I mean, it's her damn superpower, man. It's supposed to make her units tough to kill, and I feel like it doesn't really do that half of the time. But yeah, here I was actually taking a huge gamble. I mean, look at this HQ, look how exposed it is, and look how my units are all out of position. The medium tank. I was actually baffled by how reckless I was. I think I built a Neo here when I started realizing that, oh my god, my HQ is completely exposed. So yeah, day 15 rolls in, and he goes for a bunch of captures, and at this point, I'm wondering if he probably had a win. I mean, okay, so if he put his tank here, if you put a recon here, tank here, and captured, he only had a 9 HP infantry to capture with, so he wouldn't have been able to do the 2-turn cap, but he could have been really scared. He could have made me sweat a lot here. Goes for the interrupt here, which is pretty smart. Currently, he is 3 properties ahead of me, so he's actually not doing too bad in terms of capture rates, and he will take these 2 as well, which is actually pretty smart. And here, I think he realizes just how exposed my HQ is. Because he's like, I'm like, I have no units here. Of course, that's about to change very soon. I go for a couple caps and I start moving forward. And again, once again, looking at this right here. I mean, imagine if he just sat on his superpower and popped it next turn. I literally would have had almost no chance to interrupt it if he had played well. But here you can see I'm shifting some of my units down south because I'm getting a little scared here. But I'm still trying to keep my units somewhat around the center because I don't want to like give up all the ground I've gained here. So day 16 rolls in. He gets a couple of really good shots here. And he goes for the HQ cap. And at this point, it's not so scary anymore. It's still a little scary, but imagine if he did this with the superpower. That would have been very, very scary. So day 17 rolls in, and I do have my power already. I do pop it, which is good. Let's go turbocharge. I move in the recon. I see a lot of vehicles here, but at this point, my Neo-tanks are in position. So I am able to charge in, and because he's committed to this HQ cap right now, he's actually losing a lot of units, as you can see. Boom. You gotta love Jess, man. That normal power is so good. And so he went for the HQ cap, but probably like 2 turns later than he actually should have. Let's see what he does. he actually decides to go for my medium tank in the center here. And he reveals both of his Neo-tanks on the shoal terrain. So they are very exposed right now. So you can see this is why I like putting vehicles on the space right here, or on this lab, because, again, if your opponent wants to attack it, they have to commit units and put them in really scary situations. But yeah, Stispella retreats here. He realizes he's not going to get this HQ cap. There was a time to get it, I think. And I don't really know why he did this. I mean, this is just going to get repaired back up again. So again, I do want to interrupt the lab because the lab, while it doesn't give any income, it's still treated as a city in terms of a capture victory. So if both players are tied at the end of the time limit, which is 35 days, I think, then whoever has the lab will win. So it is a tiebreaker. So you do want to get it. And look at this. Getting that beautiful Neo-tank lab attack. And now I'm kind of just picking up straggling units. But I don't want to overcommit. The name of the game for most fog battles is to be patient. But he still has a lot of scary units. He still has 3 Neo-tanks. Strike that. He has 5 Neo-tanks. So, again, he actually has more Neo-tanks than me. And if he lets these units repair up, things could still get pretty scary for me, so I do have to be careful. Day 19 rolls in, and he's still ahead of me by 2 properties, actually. And also, I'm a little bit ahead of him in value, but aside from that, this is still anyone's game. I actually didn't realize he had an infantry in the forest here. That's so funny. I don't remember this infantry being here at all. Man, this infantry completely... I thought... I had no idea it was here. That's so funny. I still put an infantry on the HQ because Prime Tactics is coming up, and I don't know if there's like a bunch of units in the fog here, so I just want to make sure. But here, I'm kind of just preparing for the Prime Tactics, but Stispella is actually doing something pretty smart here. He's just... Oh, Bomber. Let's go. He's just repairing a lot of his units. Lash Bombers, though, they're not great. They don't get any firepower boosts. I don't know. Like, it's not like you can't... Like, it's not like they're weak. But it's also like... I don't know. Lash Bombers aren't very scary, because they don't get any benefit from her powers whatsoever. Alright. Day 20. And here, I decided to get a little cheeky. I've taken a lot of good engagements. So I'm like, you know what? Let's see if I can bait him into attacking me here with the Prime Tactics. Because if you look at this, Prime Tactics is not really going to do much in this area. Roads and plains everywhere. So I'm hoping he'll pop it, and that's exactly what he does. Because this is... You may think, oh, Mangs, you placed a Neo-tank right next to the city. It was actually 100% intentional. I wanted him to pop Prime Tactics and attack here. Look at all the units I have here. And he's still... I think he still has some ideas of a tricky HQ cap. But of course, he cannot resist taking the 6 Defense Star City attack from here. A little lower than that, since it's 7 HP. So he goes in for it. And I think at this point, he sees just how many units I have, and he just resigns. He just resigns. Which, I mean, is fair. I mean, I think he realized at this point he definitely fell for the trap. So, but yeah, that was it was a fun match. It was cool seeing Stispella again. And I'll be advancing over to round 2 of the Advanced Warfare Mariner Cup. Let's see how far I can get this time. I have a bad habit of playing really well in like the first 2 turns or 2 rounds of the tournament, and then like throwing the 3rd match. So I'm going to try not to do that this time around. We'll see, though. We'll see. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, cute little tournament match here. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry about the lack of streams and stuff lately. I made a community post on my channel if you guys want to go check it out. I recently started working full-time, so I'm still kind of getting adjusted to my new schedule, but streams and other types of content will be back soon, guys. I promise. Until then, enjoy some Advanced Wars replay commentaries. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!